are we watching here?
Last time on
Star Wars Legacy.
Is that me?
Cats, I'll tell you what to do, cats.
Hello everyone, my name is Brian and welcome back to Barb's Basement. As far as I know, the world very well could have ended by this point. The only signs of human life that I have are the floorboards of Barb's house creaking as she paces back and forth, demanding that I break down these Star Wars comics. With each creak of the old wood, my anxiety ramps up, driving me closer and closer to madness with each step. How many days have I been down here? 2? 1,655? Who's to say? I stopped keeping a calendar years ago. Last time on Star Wars Legacy, Darth Krayt traveled to Korriban to learn at the feet of the old masters of the dark side. Instead of helping the new Sith Emperor, the crew of Darth Endedu, Darth Nihilus, and Bane take turns roasting him. They show the usurper his worst fears, the phobia that the Vong spawn will slowly consume his body before he's able to enact his plans for galactic domination. Krayt denies these visions, proclaiming that this will not be his fate. He has a destiny. The galaxy will be broken and rebuilt in his image. With no help from the ones that came before him, Krayt will find the way all on his own. Meanwhile on Vendaxa, Cade and the crew are having a heck of a time with the beasts of the jungle. When arriving at the rendezvous point to drop off the princess, an escalate decides it's going to launch on all of them. Before the beast can pinch the gang, Master Wolf and Jedi Knight Shadow arrive with a crucial play, killing the escalate in a matter of seconds. Cade tries to avoid eye contact with the Jedi as to not give away the fact that he is a Skywalker to his Jedi-phobic friends. Dealing another blow to Cade's psyche, Princess Marasiah has deduced that they were probably going to double-cross the Fel Empire, and they likely were already aware of her royal blood. Cade, trying to get out of the situation as quick as possible, tries to nope out of there. As Sin shouts Cade's name, the two Jedi immediately take notice. Being able to read the situation, they decide it's best not to draw attention to his heritage. Before Cade and his former master are able to speak, the Jedi shuttle explodes into a glorious ball of fire. Now the only escape off-world is the Minok. The princess, the Jedi, the Cade, all sense a Sith quickly approaching. Using the Force to cast illusions on the creatures of the jungle, they attack. The Jedi and the Minok crew are quickly on the defensive. Talon squares off with the two Jedi and rapidly gains the upper hand when she force pushes Shadow and gives the old zap hands to Wolf. Marasiah goes in for the assist, but she is untrained and barely able to mount a solid attack. Wolf pleads with Cade to take the princess and flee, get away as fast as possible. This brings back all of the painful memories of the massacre of Ossus. Cade is flooded with the imagery of his master cutting down stormtroopers and telling Cade to flee with the younglings. He decides that enough is enough, and it's time for him to take action. Blasting at the Sith Lord with his double-barrel blaster, that thing is dope, she quickly disarms him, and in a final act of defiance, he uses the Force to hurl debris at the oncoming Sith, revealing to everyone that he is in fact Force-sensitive, and as far as Sin is aware, a Jedi. With the onlooking crowd awestruck, Cade heads back to the Minok. Back at the Minok, the crew is working rapidly to prepare the ship for takeoff as Astrael heads inside to reach out to Moff Conrad, the leader of the Imperial mission. But somewhere out there, Darth Talon is still lurking. Shadow is unsure if his sister should trust an Imperial Moff with their location. After all, the Empire did slaughter the Jedi, again, but Astrael speaks for the Moff. She trusts him with her life. She phones him and gives him the rundown of the situation. So in our next panel, it is revealed that they really shouldn't have trusted them to begin with. Krayt was there the whole time, plotting and scheming his next move. If they cannot get Roan to reveal himself, they will torture the information out of his daughter once she is captured. So that brings us here to issue number 6. We open on Bastion, the Empire's homeworld before Krayt moved it back to Coruscant once the Sith Imperial War was won. In the Imperial castle, Roan already knows what the plan is. Krayt has laid out the trap and he will not fall for it. He refuses to authorize a rescue mission. Imperial Knight Draco disagrees, and he is baffled that the Emperor refuses to save his own daughter from certain torture and much worse, death. Roan understands the gravity of the situation, and he looks beyond his own desires to save his daughter. The fate of the Empire and the entire galaxy is at stake. Not all the troops loyal to the true Emperor have returned back to Bastion. They cannot allow Krayt to become aware of their coup, not yet at least. Draco still argues his point. He would never give out the Emperor's location to the Sith, but Roan is steadfast in his decision and he forbids it. It is his final word. Ganner tries to reason with Draco. He understands how he feels, but their loyalty is to the true Emperor, and the Emperor has spoken. Draco asks Ganner if loyalty is the same thing as obedience. Back on Vendaxa, Darth Talon gets in contact with Darth Nihil. Nihil and his Sith are planetside and they are awaiting her instructions. She tells him to send troops to her position and to do it as covertly as possible. The Jedi still think that she is either dead or injured. She plans to continue hiding in the jungle and to use this confusion to her advantage. Once the Imperials arrive, Nihil's TIE fighters are to shoot down any Imperial shuttles that come to Vendaxa. Then they will all die. Until then, she continues to keep watch over the crew. Back on the Mynock, Wolf still senses the Sith presence out there in the jungle. Cade is unsure, he hit her pretty hard. But after focusing the Force, he senses her as well. Finally, in this moment, Wolf is finally able to speak to his former Padawan in depth. He was right about Cade. He was alive. After all of these years, the Force finally brought them back together. He knew that after all this time, not only was Cade still alive, but he was still a Jedi. Sadly, Cade tells his master that he wasted 7 years of his life. Cade Skywalker died all those years ago on Ossus, and all that was left was a broken and beaten boy that was left in the wreckage of his X-Wing. Wolf argues that the Force is too powerful for Cade to just walk away and give up. With no teaching and no instruction, Cade was able to bring Wolf back from the brink of death. But Cade disagrees. With all of his anger and his hate for the Sith, he walked in the dark side that day, and he wanted nothing more than death and destruction from those that took everything from him. Before the Sith were able to shoot him down, he sealed his flight suit and ejected, left to drift in the stars above the planet where his father and the order he called home were taken from him. He went into a deep meditation to try and save his oxygen levels. He withdrew himself from the Force so that the Sith were not able to locate him. And that's why all the Jedi on board that shuttle that was fleeing Ossus thought that Cade had actually died in the battle. After 3 long days adrift in the vacuum of space, he came to, surrounded by stars. Cade reveals one of his deepest, darkest secrets. When Rav and his pirate crew scooped him up from the void of space, he was able to leverage his way into the crew by helping them scavenge the fallen Jedi Temple. He had to watch as the pirates cackled at his father's dead body. All of the mighty Jedi warriors were gone, jokingly asking where their mystical ally the Force was when the temple was sacked. But Cade knew where the Force was. It was with the Sith. Wolf disagrees. The Force is always with any being that can use it, but it's how that being uses it that defines them. He knows that deep down Cade knows this, and he can no longer run. Ever the contrarian, Cade tells Wolf to watch. He will never pick up a lightsaber again. Cade, eager to escape this conversation, checks in on Delilah to see how the engines are coming along. She tells him that the ship will take off, but she's not sure how long it will stay up in the air. She needs at least another hour or two to truly tune up the ship. Cade jokingly says that he'll politely go and ask the Sith Lord if they can just have a couple hours before she comes back to murder them, while Delilah jokes about how she would prefer to die, burning alive in a fiery crash or by lightsaber. Cade, in a very somber and serious moment, asks the crew how they're going to spend their bounty. Delilah, knowing the situation, tells Cade that he's thinking way too far ahead. They need to escape the Sith before they can actually cash in on their bounty. Cade isn't talking about the bounty on the princess, he's talking about the bounty on his own head for being a runaway Jedi. Delilah is confused. They would never turn him in for being a Jedi. After all, having their own personal Jedi would make it way easier for them to cash in on bounties and to run scams. Cade sees right through Sin, knowing that he has a burning hatred for Jedi and that he is more than likely devising a plan to turn Cade in as they speak. And Sin doesn't deny it. He does not like Jedi. He still believes that a Jedi can take control of any being and control their mind and make them do whatever they want to do. Maybe Cade could use a mind trick on him. Maybe Cade forced him to pick up those blasters and to fire on the Sith. Cade shouts, "That's not how the Force works."
That's not how the Force works.
Cade has never used the Force on them, but he knows there's no way to change Sin's mind. Cade sat there countless times as Sin told him that he doesn't trust the Jedi unless they're dead. Dead is easier to collect on than alive. It's easier to shoot a Jedi in the back than to face them head on. Yada yada yada. He's heard it all before. As the argument gets heated, Cade asks Sin if he's just waiting for him to turn around to shoot him in the back. And in the heat of the moment, Sin tells him he will blast him right in the face. Before he can ready his blaster, Cade snatches it with the Force, dropping it to the ground. Cade turns around and walks away. Marasiah, having overheard this very heated conversation, tells Cade that he just makes friends wherever he goes. He tells her to shoot it out of her exhaust, which I'm assuming is Star Wars for shove it up your ass. She tells Cade to cool down. She may be the only person in this moment who truly understands her. Cade scoffs. She's of royal blood, a pampered princess. She has no idea what it's like to be him. Woe is him. But they're more alike than he really knows. Astral told her that Cade was actually a Skywalker and a former Jedi. She is a Fel. She has her own legacy to live up to, and she is just as trapped by it as he is. Sometimes she just wishes she could leave it all behind and start a new life on a distant world. Cade tells her that she could. It's a pretty big galaxy out there. but the princess argues that it really isn't that big. Cade and his crew of gross backwater pirates recognize her. She would never truly be free. Marasiah, being very sharp, already knows that the Sith could have taken her at any point and killed her at any time. She knows that their true goal is to lure her father out from his hiding place. She knows that her father probably won't come, and that's okay. There are bigger things at risk. Things beyond just her life. Cade has already tried the whole honor and duty thing. The Jedi were loyal and they serve honorably to the galaxy, and they still let them get killed. Marasiah knows these outside factors may one day kill her as well, but the well-being of the galaxy is more important than anyone's single life, including theirs. She understands Cade, but she is nothing like him. She envies his freedom from all the responsibility, but she isn't walking away from hers. The Empire made the decision to ally themselves with the Sith, and it cost them everything. It is their undying shame, and that responsibility to make it right is solely theirs. At some point, everyone must strike back their fears and make the right choice. In the distance, the screech of 2 incoming TIE fighters fills the air. Astral shouts, "It's Emperor Roan Fel, he's here to save his daughter." As the TIE fighters swoop in, they are quickly shot out of the sky by 2 Sith fighters. Marasiah takes off after the descending TIEs, shouting that this isn't right. Cade tells Astral and the crew to hang back. The Imperials have no more love for them than the Sith do. Astral tries to argue, but Cade tells her to listen to the princess. Something isn't right. Ejecting from the fighters, 2 Imperial Knights leap to the ground below before their shuttles explode. Marasiah shouts out to the 2 figures, still thinking that one of them may very well be your dad. She screams that it's a trap and they have to flee. Finally revealing herself, Talon springs from the jungle, calling Roan Fel the false emperor. It is time for him and his insurrection to finally die. Draco scoffs at the Sith, calling Krayt a usurper and a fool if he thinks that Roan Fel would fall so easily into his trap. Pulling back his hood, he reveals himself to be Master Draco of the Imperial Knights. The true Emperor saw through this clumsy trap, and he's more powerful than they will ever know. Taunting the oncoming Sith, he tells them to flee while they still have a fighting chance. Darth Talon and Nihil are ready for combat. She tells them that their master's patience is exhausted. She instructs her fellow Sith to take the princess to Darth Krayt. He will get the location of her father by force, and to kill the rest and leave them for the scavengers. Cade, in a panic, tells Delilah to start the Mynock ASAP. She tries to argue, but Sin tells her that the odds are better with the engines than they are with the Sith. He remotely starts the ship and very creepily pulls Astral. Gross, dude. She tries to force herself free, but Cade tells her that unless she knows how to use a lightsaber or the Force, she will just be getting in the way. Running toward the battlefield, he tells Sin to get the shields up and running. As Cade speeds in the battle, Wolf and the Sith Lord that took his right arm are in a hate-filled duel. Nihil tells Wolf that he should have just stayed dead when he killed him on Ossus. He hates having to kill his opponents twice. Wolf, fighting back the Sith Lord, tells him that maybe the Force brought him back for the sole purpose of breaking the Sith hold on the galaxy. Staring into the burning field, Cade remembers seeing his master being fatally wounded. As Cade stands deep in his own memory, he sees TIE fighters flying above the temple grounds on Ossus. Cade asks Shadow where his master is. Without answering, Shadow tells him that they have to get the younglings to a shuttle to flee. They are quickly surrounded by Sith with their crimson blades and their tattooed skin. They are cut off. Shadow, in a moment of bravery, tells Cade to cut a new opening. Back on the battlefield, Marasiah is yelling at Antares. He has gotten them both killed by coming here. Defiantly, he says, "Not by these 3 idiots." She knows that her father didn't send him, and Master Krieg actually spills the beans and says that her father actually forbade it. The princess tells Antares that he better hope that the Sith kill him before her father is able to enact the Emperor's justice on him. Totally out of left field for the reader, Draco confesses that he was thinking about the one person that matters more to him than his own vows or his loyalty to the Empire. He was thinking of her, and not only that, he's also in love with her. Just like her long-lost ancestor Han Solo, she simply says, "I know." Back on the Mynock, Delilah and Sin have the engines back up and running. Sin tells her to punch it and to get them out of there. Delilah tells Sin that they are not going to leave without Cade. Sin tries to rationalize with her. This war is between the Imperials, the Jedi, and the Sith. It isn't their fight, and that if Cade was one of them, he would be on the ship with them. Sin says that Cade made his choice, and that he is getting them out of there. Astral interjects. The crew is forgetting about the princess. Delilah says forget about the princess. If Sin leaves Cade behind, she's going to kill him in his sleep. Cade, still in shock, seeing the destruction of the Sith with his own eyes for the first time in 7 years, is distracted, and a Sith closes in on him. Marasiah shouts to warn him, running to his aid before the Sith is able to strike him down, kicking him out of the way just in time. After a short duel, the Zabrak is able to deal a death blow on the princess before she is able to strike him down. As she falls to the ground, Cade rushes to her side. As the princess lays dying under the twin moons of Vendaxa, Cade sees the Temple of Ossus burning. as his father is surrounded by Sith. His final words to his son, "We take what is given." As Cade lays Marasiah down, he gently asks her why. Why did she do this? She tells him that she had to make it right, even if it only means saving one life. It is her duty. In this pivotal moment, Cade is blinded by his hate and his anger. Reaching out to Marasiah's lightsaber, he does something he swore he would never do again. Igniting the blade, Cade is ready to fight. Thus concludes issue 6 of Star Wars Legacy. As I've told you guys a million times before, this series just ramps it up, cranks it to 11 and rips the knob off. This is what the series has been building towards since it started, forcing Cade to finally take action and to accept his Jedi heritage. He isn't quite there yet, but his hatred for the Sith has forced him to wield the weapon of the Jedi once again. We also get to see the confrontation between Darth Nihil and Wolf, the clashing of two ideologies, and Cade is forced to come face to face with the man that took the life of his father. We also get the insurrection of the Imperial Knight Draco, running off to literally save the princess and confessing his love. One of the really odd things about this series is that everyone delivers tons of exposition while they're in the middle of heated battles. Also, a rambly side note, how sick is the Emperor's Imperial Knight's armor? Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed this week's issue. I know that I did. Make sure you come back next Thursday for the next issue of KOTOR, and as always, I'll be here in Barb's basement.